So there's been this ongoing debate, I think, in recent weeks, whether or not the Mag 7 is the place to be, whether or not we'll likely see some profit taking here over the next several weeks or several months, potentially. You've got Amazon down 6 days in a row. Why do you still see an investment opportunity here?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. The market's at an interesting juncture here where it was led by a narrow number of stocks in 2023. Again, at the beginning of 2024, the Magnificent Seven names, the tech leaders roared higher, and then they hit an abrupt stop in mid-July with the unwinding of the yen carry trade. And more recently, only Meta has actually gone above its July high, and the rest of the names are sort of languishing. But I think it's too early to give up on these names. If you look at their net income growth, projected to be north of 25%. The rest of the market, the 493, sub 5%. Valuations on these names have come down. So while we don't expect them to continue to see just outsized performance, it's tough to see the market continue to grind higher without their participation. So I think a broadening is good, but actually we want these leaders to continue to be able to participate at the same time.
And for those leaders, it's really come into question how much and how aggressively we're going to continue to see some of the capital expenditures move forward, especially with AI as the theme that's benefited them, but now as one of the potential headwinds if they do overspend, even though what they will communicate to the street is that there's a far greater risk if they don't spend aggressively right now.
Yeah, so this is another challenge. So we know that the majority of the Magnificent Seven companies have actually been plowing in their capital expenditures into another company, which is NVDA, right? So we know the AI trade has had fits and starts. More recently, it has come back, and now it's pulled back again. And it's because investors are checking themselves and saying, wait a minute, if all this money is going into generative AI, buying chips, when are we going to see a return on that investment? I think that's been pushed out to the back half of 2024, if not 2025. So for the time being, there's an arms race in AI. Jensen Huang last night was talking about how demand for Blackwell is insane because it's that much more efficient. So for now, I continue to see a race toward capital expenditures in AI. That's not necessarily going to go away, but you're absolutely right. At some point, these companies are going to need to show return on investment in a clear path. But for the time being, I think it's these leaders in this space that continue to benefit, as opposed to a name like ServiceNow or Salesforce, which is definitely exposed in spending in AI. But when they benefit is not as clear as when a Microsoft or Apple or even an Amazon can benefit.
You know, Dave, is this a call across the board when it comes to Mag 7? We obviously have seen a stronger outperformance from some of these names in particular. When you take a look, I mean, NVIDIA has been under pressure here this week, but clearly that runway for growth, that has been something that investors have been closely watching here. So is this more of an NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon maybe specific call rather than Tesla, or is this strength that you see across the board with these names?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So the name, of course, was dubbed because they were all outperforming at the same time, all had similar growth characteristics, innovation characteristics. But we have seen even in the last 18 months or 2 years that there's been times where Meta has been a laggard, or now it's a leader, and Amazon's been a laggard and a leader. To your point, Tesla is the most cyclical of the names, in my opinion. Again, at the end of the day, they're a car manufacturer, and we remain in an EV winter. Next week's a big week for that name, of course, with the robo-taxi event in Hollywood. I think that actually could be a strong catalyst for the name because last night's deliveries weren't great, but they are really, I think, investors are having faith that Elon Musk is really righting the ship there. We got past his pay package issues. So I'm not willing to give up on Tesla necessarily just yet, but of the group, I do think there's some question marks with that name relative to the others.